Hey YouTube, this is Pickle Pyro, and I got another tier list video for you guys today. Well, not necessarily a tier list, but more of a ranking video. You read the title. I'm going to be ranking every Beatles album made. Some guidelines: I'm only doing albums that were released when the Beatles were active, so 1963 and 1970. No compilation albums, nothing like that. Just albums that the Beatles themselves made, except for one exception, but we'll get to that. But before we start, keep in mind, this is just my opinion. My opinions don't necessarily match up with everybody's from, Beatles fans' favorites. They aren't exactly mine, but we'll get to that. So let's get started. Number 13, we have Yellow Submarine. Not necessarily a Beatles album because the Beatles didn't really have that much to do with it, but I figured I'd put it on anyways because it was released when the Beatles were active, so I thought, why not? It's mostly just instrumental tracks that were in the movie, so it's not really that special. There are some good songs on it though, Hey Bulldog, It's All Too Much. The songs that they picked to put on it are pretty good, and the instrumental tracks are enjoyable, but it's not something that I'm gonna listen to, it's just something that I'm gonna hear in the movie. Moving on, number 12, we have Beatles For Sale. It was released in 1964. It is the Beatles' fourth album. I'd say it's the weakest out of all the Beatles albums. It's not really that memorable. The album cover isn't really that memorable. Not to say it's bad necessarily, it's just kind of forgettable. I'm pretty sure every song on this album is a cover of a song already. Not that that's really a bad thing because I love Elvis and, all his songs were covers. But, there are good songs on it, No Reply, 8 Days a Week, some of these more memorable Beatles songs were on it. And the songs they covered, are pretty good songs. You got rock and roll music, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, the songs that were popular at the time, and I feel like they were kind of conforming to what music was like at the time instead of, being more experimental, but that's going to change later on in this list. Number 11, we have With the Beatles, 1963. This is the second Beatles album ever released. And, it's kind of like this early period of the Beatles that, most Beatles fans don't like that much, where it's just, covers of other songs. It's like these generic love songs. I'm not really against them that much. There are a lot of good songs in here. Let's see, what did I write down? It Won't Be Long, that's a good one. Don't Bother Me, that's the first written George Harrison song. And going on in this list, you're going to find out that I'm a huge George Harrison fanboy. It's kind of obvious, but yeah, we'll get to that later. With the Beatles, it's a good album. It's not like Beatles. You could slap any band name onto it and it would make sense, but it's just not the Beatles, Not that it's a bad album, but yeah, number 11 with the Beatles. Moving on, number 10, we have Let It Be, released in 1970. This was the last Beatles album ever released. Not the last one they ever made. The last one they made was Abbey Road, but this is the last one to be released in 1970. Not really that special and kind of a letdown from Abbey Road. It's not the greatest, There are good songs that, Let It Be is one of the most popular Beatles songs ever made. Not the most popular, but it's up there. Long and Winding Road, Across the Universe, these really good songs that are on it. And then the other half is just kind of forgettable. A lot of Beatles albums are like that. They just have these couple amazing songs, and then the rest are just kind of oh yeah, they exist. Anyways, moving on. Number 9, we have Please Please Me, 1963, first Beatles album ever released. And I don't know what it is about Please Please Me, but it just has this feeling to it, all the echoing and stuff. It makes me feel like I'm at a Beatles concert, kind of. It's crazy. It's such a great listen with headphones, and I think it was way ahead of its time, and it really, goes to show how the Beatles blew up so much. Do You Want to Know a Secret? Great George Harrison song. Obviously, I'm good. That's probably my favorite from the album. Twist and Shout. What else? Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about Please Please Me. Number 8 is A Hard Day's Night, released in 1964. This album kind of marks when the Beatles started to, move on writing their own songs instead of, doing a lot of covers. A lot of great songs on here. Can't Buy Me Love, And I Love Her. It's like these classic Beatles songs. A lot of them came from this album. Not much to say about it. The title track, Hard Day's Night, that opening guitar riff, it's great. Good album. Not my favorite. It's not one that I listen to that much, but, it's still a good one. At number 7, we have Magical Mystery Tour. Now, this might be a little bit... This is probably the most controversial album out of all the Beatles' discography, because a lot of people love it and praise it, and a lot of people think, oh, it's mediocre. It's not a bad album at all, but it's kind of like half the songs is just like, these are bangers and I'm going to listen to all the time, and the other half is like, what the hell am I listening to? Obviously, nothing but respect for the experimentation, pushing of boundaries at the time that the Beatles did in a lot of their albums. Let's see, what did I write down here? Penny Lane, Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields, these classic Beatles songs that are just great, that still hold up today. Blue Jay Way, great George song. The film based off of it has a really interesting story, in my opinion, how it was basically a flop. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about that. Moving on to number 6, I put the White Album, also known, well, the real name is the Beatles, but everyone's called it the White Album. It was released in 1968, the longest Beatles album, and I think the most crazy with experimentation happened in the White Album. We have like crazy songs like Revolution 9, or it's just like, this was released in 1968. Same year as Elvis' 68 Comeback Special. We had these classic rock albums coming out at the time. We had like Beach Boys, Bob Dylan. We had like, all these great albums, and then we just had like Revolution 9. So like, what am I listening to? It's crazy. These are the guys that made, Please Please Me, and all these songs about, loving girls, and then they're doing crazy stuff like this. I can't imagine what it must have been like to be alive in this time and just hearing this and be like, wow. A lot of songs are like that on this album, but there are a lot of great ones. While My Guitar Gently Weeps, George Harrison. Of course, I'm gonna love it. They should have let him write more songs, but Blackbird is a beautiful Paul McCartney song. Back in the USSR, the opening song, banger. Super fun to listen to, but yeah, the White Album's great, so I'll put it at number 6. At number 5, we have Help, released in 1965. I think this is really the turning point when Beatles, shifted away from these love songs. There are still love songs in here, but it has one of my personal favorite Beatles songs, Ticket to Ride. It's just such a fun one to listen to, like when I'm working out or mowing the lawn or something. The Night Before, that's a great one. Yesterday is, I think, the most covered song of all time. Isn't that what people said? Yeah, it's just great. Great Paul McCartney. Yeah. Help is just such a classic Beatles. The cover art with like they're all posing and spelling out help. Just great. Moving on to number 4, I have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Now, this one is going to be especially controversial because a lot of people consider this one the best Beatles album. But me personally, it's not one that I enjoy all too much. I still, love a lot of the songs. I love the style of like this whole album being interconnected with like a concert. With the fictional Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Billy Shears, and Ringo. It's great. Some good songs on here. Within You, Without You is probably my favorite from the album. Super underrated. George Harrison's guitar songs are bangers. I don't care what anyone says. They're great. I love them. If you disagree, then I'll respect your opinion, but A Day in the Life is just crazy with the orchestra rising and just climaxing into this one, big... It's just crazy. A Day in the Life is definitely one of the best Beatles songs. When I'm 64, that's a good one too. It's kind of a sweet one. With Little Help from My Friends, great Ringo song. The key's underappreciated as well as George. And that's all I really have to say about Sgt. Pepper. The album art is classic, with like everybody got like this whole ton of people. It's just classic Beatles album. Number 3, we have Revolver, 1966. Now this, I've been saying this a lot, but this is the turning point when Beatles started, going full experimental. This whole era, gone. starting this new era of just classic, these crazy experimental songs. Eleanor Rigby is, in my opinion, the best in the album. Probably just because, you know, the fact that the Beatles, you know, went from making these love songs to making a song about dying, being forgotten, and no one coming to your funeral. It's bittersweet, it's beautiful, it's a masterpiece of a song. Taxman, Love You Too, I Want to Tell You, 3 absolute banger George songs. I love them all. I especially love You Too with another sitar song. Those are bangers. I don't care what y'all say. Tomorrow Never Knows is just, I think, the first crazy experimental Beatles song, just with all the sounds, and especially in like the middle of the song, just like all this craziness going on. I think it's the first Beatles song that was like crazy experimental. And you know, we had like these ones early on, but I think this marked the start of that whole era. Yellow Submarine is just a classic Beatles song, you know, Ringo. It's kind of like, it's a Beatles icon. That's all I gotta say about that. Number 2, we have Abbey Road, 1969. The most famous Beatles album ever made, I think. The album cover is iconic, and right there. I'll probably have it on the screen up too, but Come Together, I think is, I don't really understand why that song is so popular. It's not really my favorite. Like, I think it's just kind of bland. It just kind of sounds like a song that any rock group could make. I don't know, I'm probably going to get flack for that. I don't like Come Together that much. Something, on the other hand, the second song on the album, George Harrison, probably the most beautiful love song ever made, honestly. It's just so sweet. Just great. Octopus's Garden is a Ringo song. It's on the same par as Yellow Submarine, I feel. It's like this great song that, you know, kids can enjoy. I could probably freaking show that to my little sister and she would love it. I Want You, She's So Heavy is just crazy, especially like the last few minutes of the song where it's freaking crazy with like I like the parts where they're like screaming and freaking it's just such a fun song to listen to. Here Comes the Sun is probably the most famous Beatles song ever made. It's George Harrison, but you know, I gotta love my boy George getting some representation. I love that. It's just such a great message, especially for, you know, all the crap that's been going on in 2020. You know, it's just such an inspiring song. Golden Slumbers, Carry That Away at the end. You know, it's like this beautiful little combination of these 3 songs that all intertwine. Beautiful way to end off the album. Yeah, Abbey Road, definitely the most influential album ever made, in my opinion. Whether it's the best or not, you know, that's your opinion, but I think it's definitely the most influential album ever made. And my number 1 pick, probably very controversial. If you're a Beatles album, you know, if you are a Beatles fan, then you know which one is coming next. Rubber Soul, 1965. I have a lot of amazing things to say about this album. I have such huge nostalgia for it because it's the first Beatles album I ever listened to. This was before Revolver, so not that much crazy experimentation, but Norwegian Wood is the first Beatles song that features a sitar, with George Harrison playing the sitar, and it's one of the most popular off the album. Nowhere Man has this great message about, you know, the world is at your command. Don't just, you know, be a nowhere man, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Great message from John Lennon. You Won't See Me, If I Needed Someone is probably my favorite Beatles song of all time. I don't know, I think it's super underrated. Great George Harrison song. In My Life is just beautiful John Lennon song. I just love Rubber Soul. I could listen to basically every song on this album and get enjoyment out of it. I've listened to the whole thing many times. I put it in the background, like if I'm studying or doing homework. I love Rubber Soul. I love the album art with it's them all looking at the camera. It's great. It's great. I love Rubber Soul. Anyways, that's all I have for this Beatles ranking album. Let me know if you guys have any disagreements in the comments, because I want to hear what you guys think. I know not all my subscribers are Beatles fans, so a lot of people probably won't care about this video, but if you do want to start listening to the Beatles, I'd recommend just, you know, start with either Rubber Soul or Revolver, And I've heard this before. If you like Rubber Soul more, go backwards. If you like Revolver more, go forwards. And then just listen to them all from there. So, yeah, but let me know what you guys think about this ranking video. Let me know if there's any other ranking videos you guys want me to make. And that's all I got for you today. Peace out.